Hello and welcome to the Farmer Wants a Wife After Party. I'm your host Stephanie Spiker and I am very excited to talk all about the season 3 premiere of Farmer Wants a Wife that just aired last night. So this year's farmers, Matt, Colton, John, and Jay, each had 8 speed dates. I feel like some were kind of cute, some were very awkward, and some were just kind of bad. But after all of that, they picked 5 women to come back with them to their farms, and they also picked one lucky lady for their very first solo date. So joining me here at the after party are Candace Wiersbowski.
Hello.
And Lindsay Yoder.
Hello.
And we are going to really dig into everything from this premiere, so get comfy and get ready.
This episode is brought to you by Horning's Hardwood Furniture, providing locally handcrafted, custom-made furniture made from oak, maple, and cherry. Desks, doors, and sewing cabinets for your bedroom, living room, and dining room. Hardwood to last for generations. Horning's Hardwood Furniture. Call 717-866-5782 or go to horningshardwoodfurniture.com.
I feel like overall, the premiere was great. Like, season 3 is off to a good start. The episode made me feel like this season is going to be pretty promising, but I would like to get your thoughts. Do you agree, or are you kind of like, in past years, I've kind of hated episode 1 of the show. I think it's boring. This year it was a little better.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. There were definitely things that happened this episode, and we can get into them later in the show, that make me think that it's going to be more exciting, maybe a little spicier. I don't know, maybe they have a better editing team on board because it just seemed to have a better pace. I think that, yeah, in the past, the first episode has been a slog. They've really tried to, I feel like, showcase each and every woman who's on the show, and the sad fact of the matter is some of these girls are kind of cannon fodder, and they're kind of in and then they're out. And, you know, we don't really need to get to know them, especially if they're going to be eliminated right away.
Yes, I really enjoyed this premiere, and I agree. I think the editing pacing was a little bit more engaging, and it's funny, there were a few ladies in the background, you know, at the end after they choose their ones to bring back, and you're like, I don't even know who she is. Like, I don't think I saw one thing of her, but I'm already excited of feeling like, oh, that's gonna be a favorite. I really don't like her. But so far, actually, I really like all the farmers from the premiere. So
Oh, yeah, we're going to get into all of that. And I will say, fair warning, I quite literally right now in front of me have a website open that has all the women's names listed, because sometimes it's hard after episode 1 to keep track of them all. So we're going to do our best to make sure we say everyone's name correctly. But just in case, you know, you're like, that's the wrong person, please, if we mess up, email us, call us out. That's fine. So we are 1 episode in, and somehow, shockingly, someone has already been doing a little kissing. Like, my jaw was on the ground. Like, Colton already kissing.
Unheard of.
Yeah, Bailey. That's who he picked for his solo date. I had to check my notes. And literally, as they're walking out, they start, like, making out on the walkway.
All right, they weren't making out.
it was
They
a pretty
kissed.
intense kiss, though. I mean, it lasted like at least a minute.
It was passionate.
It was a passionate first kiss for someone you just met. I will say, I am a little surprised. I actually like Colton more than I thought I would, based on, like, the trailer and based on his bio. But I don't know. That dude is so into Bailey. Like, he up downed her multiple times during their meeting, and like, he said at the beginning of the episode something about how in Arkansas there's only like 80-year-old women or whatever, and I'm like, is this the first time you've seen a not 80-year-old woman? Calm it down.
He's off the farm. He's clearly very excited to be out and about. Yeah, I know. I was trying to be, I guess, more charitable toward Colton, because one of his first comments about Bailey was how tall she is, and she does seem to be a very tall woman. And so I was like, well, maybe he's looking down to see if she's wearing heels. But I think that, I think he was just checking her out. But you know what? This show, and especially the first episode, where it's very quick introductions and first impressions, it is a bit of a meat market. So, I mean,
Valid.
I feel like maybe the other farmers were a little more discreet, but I mean, come on, they were all doing the exact same thing.
True.
Also, I kind of liked getting a chance to see him sort of involuntarily react because, you know, I think for the most part, when that happens, it's like they're not even thinking about it. Their animal brain takes over and they're just like, oh, you know. And so in a way, it's sort of like you really get a sense of who they're actually into and who they're just being nice about because they're like, well, I have to bring 5 ladies home. So I'm going to say all these ones are nice and that I like them, but you can kind of already tell who they're actually into.
Yeah.
And he was like not hiding it. So.
That's
Oh,
true.
yeah. I thought he was very cute. I forget who the first woman was that approached him, but he kind of had the little, oh my gosh, moment where I think that like he was like kind of like temporarily taken over. Like you said, Lindsay, his like lizard brain took over for a second. And I thought it was very adorable and dorky. It was adorkable.
I will say, I feel like at the very beginning of the episode, I wrote down like, oh, Colton's like kind of awkward. Like, I wonder if his personality will like, you know, grow throughout the season. And even literally just by the end of the episode, I'm like, oh no, like his personality is already coming out more. So I appreciate that because I feel like we were all a little like, he's not our type, like going into this. And now I'm like, oh no, like he's kind of funny. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm giving him more credit, but I don't know. I do think in general, I am supportive of season 3 being a little like spicier with like more kissing, you know, because I feel like we talked about this last week, you know, sometimes it got a little boring in the past 2 seasons. And I am curious though, if his other women will find out that this kiss happened
Oh, of course they
immediately.
will.
Like, are they going to know?
Of course they will.
Is there going to be drama early?
Look, it's going to play out, I think, just how it always plays out, where Bailey will not like run up to these other women and say like, guess what, ladies? But someone within that group will ask, well, you know, how'd you spend your first 24 hours with Colton? Did you guys kiss? And then the truth will come out and we'll see how they react. I don't know. I feel like they are probably not going to be terribly pleased about it.
That's true.
And I feel like they've got their work cut out for them.
Yeah.
To try and, you know, topple Bailey.
I will say the other like kind of chemistry that I picked up on was actually also Farmer Colton. Keely teaching Colton ballet I thought was very cute, and just like he gave her like kind of a little hug or a little peck on the cheek or whatever at the end of it, and I was like, oh, okay, they have a little bit of chemistry. But I don't know, did anyone stand out to you guys for any of the other farmers in terms of like chemistry right off the bat?
Jay and Grace, I thought. You know, one of my thoughts when I was listening to Jay, I just thought, you know, he's really soft-spoken. And for a second, I was wondering, like, why would this kind of person put themselves on a reality show? Because he does seem a little reserved and quiet. And then Grace came out, and I think she is on the exact same wavelength as him. I think they have very similar personalities, similar ways of expressing themselves, at least from what I can see in the like 5 minutes that we met them. And I was really happy that he picked her because she might not be like, forgive me, but like the showiest girl in his group. But I think that personality-wise, I think they're probably a good match.
Yeah, I agree. They were very cute together. Mm-hmm. And I will say his personality surprised me a little bit. Just off of like his bio, and this is so stereotypical, but I went to a football school. You know what? If you're gonna hype up that he's a college football player, I kind of am expecting like maybe he's kind of cocky and maybe a little bit of a, I don't know, like a jerk. I don't know. That I honestly, I met college football players when I was in college in classes that were very nice people. So that is such a stereotype, but I kind of expected him to be like a really big personality. And so him being a little more reserved was a nice surprise, actually. It was like, oh wow, like I like him.
Yeah, I really liked Jay a lot, and I loved his interaction with Grace, and I like when he picked her, I was like, ooh, Like, I got kind of excited because she just had this really nice warmth about her, and seemed like when she came out, it was very much like, she was being aware of, this is kind of awkward. This is a little strange, and I'm not very comfortable, but, I am interested in actually getting to know you, as opposed to like, I'm ready for the farm life, like.
Oh my gosh, I can't remember which girl said DTF down to farm, but no.
One of Colton's ladies did that.
That was something. But honestly, back to Colton for 2 seconds, how we're talking about how his like instincts just like came out, right? The thing that I cringed most about in this episode were actually the women's reaction to the men walking in.
Yes.
Like, quite literally fanning themselves. I'm like, it's a man. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, they're good looking, whatever. They're strapping, masculine, whatever all these women like to call them. But I'm like, you're gonna really stand there, like, actively fanning yourself when a man walks through the door? Come on.
Yeah, I had the same reaction where I was like, what? Are you kidding me? I want to know, like, what kind of hype man did they have before they let these guys in there? Because, yes, they were reacting like their favorite celebrity had just walked in the door. And I'm like, I know that, you're all going to be on TV, but these are not famous people. These are just regular farmers. And I mean, like, we love farmers, but I'm not going to, like, stand up and jump up and down and fan myself just because one walks in the door.
I actually really liked Colton's reaction when he walked in, and he sort of went, ooh.
I can't imagine. That's true, though, from, like, their point of view to, like, walk in and, like, receive that kind of reception. Like, it must be very overwhelming.
Yeah. The other couple that I really felt a lot of sparks between and a real genuine kind of connection and warmth was Lily and John. And, again, she sort of just seemed like when she came out, I think all of the women who I find the most appealing are the ones who are not assuming that, oh, I just want to marry this man immediately. The ones who come out and are like, I'm ready to go to the farm. I'm ready to be his wife. It's kind of like, well, you don't know him yet. Mm-hmm. So the ones who come out and are sort of like, I'm a little nervous. I feel a little strange, but I'm interested in you, sort of the same way like with Grace. I feel like Lily had that vibe, and that John felt very at ease by that because he didn't feel this pressure to be like, oh yeah, I guess maybe I'm your future husband. It seemed more like a natural meeting, almost like with a matchmaker, So they just seem to have a nice connection, and I'm excited to see where things go for them.
I agree. Lily was sweet, but I do get a little concerned sometimes for like women who have more Lily and Grace's personality when you're then shoved in a house with these other 4 women who are also fighting for your man. Like, I think sometimes they get not like intentionally forgotten by the farmer, but like when you have really big personalities, I feel like, and I say that as someone who really, I would not say I have like a really big personality, especially when it comes to like the dating world. Like, so I don't know. I like both Lily and Grace a lot, and I'm hopeful that they like get their moments to shine and not like kind of just hidden back behind all the slightly more boisterous ladies.
Yeah.
Well, Grace has her 24 hours, so
that's true.
Hopefully she makes the most of it.
She has a head start. Back to cringing. Did you guys have any cringeworthy moments that really stood out to you, other than the women absolutely losing their minds?
Yeah, there were a few. I feel like there's a big one coming, but I'm not going to get to that. But I will say, I want to talk about Jordan, who is a musician, and she brought her guitar, and she sat down with Matt, and she played a song for him. And to me, it was a little cringy, but at the same time, I kind of loved it because I feel like the script was kind of flipped. Yes. And there's a bit in the Barbie movie from a year or so ago where they talk about the fact that men love to sit down with their instruments and play at women.
Yep.
And the women are supposed to sit there and nod and smile and enjoy and listen as this song is played at them. And Jordan did that to Matt, and it was cringy. It was a little self-promotional But it worked. Like, he selected her
Yeah.
for, the first 24 hours. So good job, Jordan, for, flipping the script and letting the woman be the one to make us cringe. So yeah.
That's true. I will say, watching that happen, to me, Matt looked visibly like he was also cringing. So I was a little surprised that he picked her for the solo date, just because, I don't know, like, he did not seem super into it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe he just,
I think he admired her chutzpah.
maybe. But I also, literally, as that was happening, the first thing that came to mind was the Kens in the Barbie movie playing at them. So
My favorite thing was when he's like, oh, she's got a guitar. And then she had that long walk down the drive, which I'm sorry, whoever set that up was not thinking through.
Yeah.
Because what an awful, long, awkward moment where you're like, should I look at him as I'm walking this like 1 minute walk? Should I just look around? And him too being like, what do I do? As opposed to being able to just walk up and get like a 2-second glimpse and then you sit down. So
plus the long walk was like stone, and I would say at least 90% or 100% of these women were wearing heels, and they're just like wobbling down this stone walkway. I'm like, did we plan this on purpose? Because that's just mean.
Yeah. I feel like that happens every season, though, where like wherever they're having these little mini dates, the temperature or the landscape is just really poorly suited to whatever these women are wearing, because they always come out in their little like, sundresses or whatnot and heels, and it's always like cold or the path is stone. It's never suited to them.
Yeah. I cringed watching them walk down.
Oh yeah.
I was like, you could tell it was so awkward for both parties, and I felt awkward for us as viewers just watching this.
yeah. Another cringe moment, aside from the big cringe that I think we're all anticipating discussing, but this one was a little cringe in comparison, was, what was her name who brought out the photo?
Julia.
Oh, Julia.
Julia. Yes. When she brought out her bikini photo in the cowboy hat. And, poor Jay, what is he supposed to... I mean, first of all, he's a man, so of course he's going to enjoy seeing that photo. Now, he didn't ask for it. She just is like, look at me. You could just see his face being like, wow, but also like, ugh. like both. And then it's like, he can't give it back to her because that would be insulting. So he's just like, thanks.
Awkwardly holding this.
I'm going to take it with me. And, so that was, I don't think, even though men appreciate looking, I don't think that when they're actually serious about meeting someone, they appreciate that much forwardness. So
yeah, he seemed a little uncomfortable by it, which, like, I don't blame him. I mean, what a strange way to, like, meet someone, to be like, hey, I'm wearing a cowboy hat and a bikini. I would fit perfectly on the farm. Like, what?
But she wouldn't, is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, her thirst trap was absolutely unhinged. And then, like, I'm thinking, okay, like, does she have anything to offer besides this? And apparently the answer is no, because immediately after she handed that over, she's like, oh, and by the way, I'm not shoveling poop.
Yeah.
And also, where's the Starbucks,
Where's the
near your
Starbucks?
farm? I'm like, who is this girl? She is not suited for life on the farm. Anyone can put on a cowboy hat.
No,
Not everyone can.
She literally said the phrase to Jay, I'm a princess. Now, no. Okay, have I, like, jokingly been like, oh, I want to be the passenger princess and never drive? Yeah, I actually would like that. I don't like driving. I mean, but do I actively, like, walk around in my daily life being like, treat me like a princess? No. Please don't, actually. I think I'd get annoyed.
You also aren't, like, walking up to a farmer and be like, I want to be your wife, but also I want to be a princess, because those two ideas are incongruous.
Yeah, please bring me my Starbucks, and I will not do any sort of farm work, thank you.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if she's one who came onto this to try and make a big splash, to make a name for herself, which I don't like to be that cynical. I'm living in suspended disbelief, but she has to be that cynical because...
Yeah. I am intrigued. I wrote a few names down of who I think is going to kind of bring some of the drama back to the farms. And she was one of the names I wrote down just because she seems so unwilling and uninterested in farm life to begin with that I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like if I was on Jay's farm, honestly, I was a little surprised he picked her, first of all, to come back. But if I was one of the other women on his farm and he's taking you out you're like in the cow pasture, whatever, and she's like, ew, oh my God, or whatever, however she may react, I would be so annoyed and probably a little petty about it. So like maybe I'm just like, maybe that's a me problem. Maybe all the other women on Jay's farm will not care that she acts that way. I don't know. But the other, I'm going to be honest, I didn't have anyone really specific from Colton's farm that I think is going to bring drama. Maybe a little bit with Bailey just because of the kiss so early. But I don't think any of the women he picked seem like they're going to like bring a lot of drama. I will say, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Haley, who's on Matt's farm, she made a few comments about like not wanting people to get in her way and like getting her man and stuff. So I'm like, okay, I could see her having some drama. But then when she actually talked to him, she seemed kind of sweet when she was one-on-one with Matt. But then in her interviews, I was a little like, I don't know, girl, about you. Like, you seem like you're just going to steamroll everyone else, but maybe not.
We'll have to see. And maybe she's just not a girl's girl, you know? Ugh. Which would be a shame because one of my favorite parts of the show is the fact that often the women grow closer with each other than they do with the actual farmer.
That's true.
So I would hate to see someone like Pele, you know, not be able to get with that vibe.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see. I feel like she could go either way, where she's either going to be kind of dramatic or she's actually like that sweet version of herself that she was with Matt. I don't know. But the one who I think we've all been sort of waiting to talk about a little bit is the one that John picked for his one-on-one date, Miss Samantha. I have a lot of questions about her. I will say the first thing I actually wrote down about her was something quite positive in the sense that she talked about how she like has really high standards, and if a man's not going to meet it, she's not going to like stick around, she's going to leave. You know what? I support that. Like if you are actively genuinely searching for like a long-term partner or for marriage, you do need to have high standards. I was fully on her side at first. I was like, you know what? People might be like, oh, she's a lot. And I was like, yeah, I'm with you. But then I don't know. Just the way her and John had their speed date, I just am like, that seems like this is going to get real toxic. Like, they both were just, like, staring each other down, like, and I'm like, what's happening right now?
I thought she was a little psychotic. She really kind of scared me. And she was very aggressive. And I just, you know, she wouldn't accept the compliment about her eyes. When he was like, you know, you have beautiful eyes. And she's like, I bet you say that to lots of girls. He's like, no, I don't. She's like, you're lying.
Yeah, that was bold.
Yeah. Yes, that was
and it was not a flirtatious thing. She was being very real, like, yeah, you're lying.
Yeah.
Basically, like, I don't really like you, and you've got to prove to me why I should even be here.
I have a real hot take.
Oh, I want to hear it.
And that is that I really like Samantha. Yes, I like the fact that she is just not here to play the game, that she is just like, I'm not going to fawn over this guy. I mean, we said earlier, like, why are these women just like falling over themselves over these guys who, at the end of the day, are just an average guy that happens to be a little better looking than average. But she's just like, no, like, I'm not going to be intimidated by you. I know what I'm looking for, and I'm here to stand by it. And I do have to wonder because, you know, without getting too much into looks, Samantha does have very unique eyes, and I am sure that she has been told that she has pretty eyes, or she's gotten compliments about her eyes probably her entire life. Good point. Maybe something like that is it just doesn't land with her the way it might land with someone else, where she's just like, oh, that's everyone's opening line on me. They all compliment my eyes.
True.
So, yeah. Is she extremely direct? Yes. Was it very cringy having to watch her and Matt and John together? Yeah. But I think that, like, it really, like, threw him off course, the fact that this woman was, like, not there to, you know, kind of just, like, play to whatever she thought he wanted. Like, she has very firmly, like, establish that she considers herself to be the one who's in charge, who's going to call the shots. I mean, when he invited her back to the farm, she was like, okay, like, I want to see where this goes. Not like, woo, I made it. It's like, no, I'm here to evaluate you. Like, and honestly, I kind of love that.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
I totally see where you're coming from. I kind of felt like, I'm like, do you actually want to be here though? Because there were a few points where she's just kind of like, whatever, like, okay, you want to take me on a date, fine.
It does border a little on like pick me girl behavior.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I love the fact that it's probably going to also be like a lot of fun to watch.
Yes.
I feel like these first 24 hours, they could be great or they could be just like an absolute disaster, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I just don't know. I'm honestly... She has said a few times in one episode only, like, if he doesn't blah, 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 like, I'm leaving. And I am really curious to see if that continues. And if at some point he doesn't do whatever, like, if he wouldn't have picked her for the first solo date, would she actually have walked out? I'm curious if she would follow through on her, like, multiple threats that she's already had, have been like, I'm out of here. If he doesn't do this, I'm gone.
I mean, that's something we've seen girls do in other seasons where they're like, if I don't get picked next, like, that's it. Like, what am I doing here? I'm wasting my time. And sometimes they do follow through, and sometimes the producers are able to kind of cajole them into staying a little bit longer. I feel, though, with Samantha that she's like, no, like, I'm not wasting my time. I'm not wasting your time. I'm gone. I respect it. She's a little much. I understand that, but... Yeah.
She scares me a little. I'm going to be honest.
That's why it's a hot take. I realize that it's controversial.
But again, I don't fully disagree with her general statement of like, I have really high standards. Because I'm like, yeah, same girl. I'm with you. I don't know. But sometimes I'm like, oh, you're a little scary. Like, I just feel like she's a little intimidating. And I think John seems to kind of like that. However, as a woman, I don't really necessarily think I would want to be referred to as a challenge. Because he said that a few times, like, she seems like a real challenge, and I want to get to know her. And I'm like, I don't know if I would like being called a challenge.
I think I wouldn't mind, depending on the circumstances. I have been called a challenge, so maybe I just
you just relate to her on a personal level.
Yeah, I have been told that I'm direct.
I don't think direct is a bad thing.
No, I don't think it needs to be a bad thing either.
Wow, man, what a hot take!
There you go.
See, I will say, I feel like my hot take this week is like kind of tame.
Well, let's hear it.
But honestly, it's actually a prediction. We're doing a hot take prediction after one single episode. I'm gonna call it now, just in case I'm right at the end. I want to be like
on the record.
On the record, I think Jay and Grace are gonna end up together.
Oh, I hope so.
Because we've already talked about how they seem very like evenly yoked, and I don't know. I feel like I'm going to make a bold prediction week 1, call it, and hope I'm right.
I think that's a fair prediction.
Yeah, I like that one. I like that it's, a happy ending.
Yeah. See, nothing like absolutely hot takes from me this week. Yours was a pretty hot take. I'm intrigued to see if people agree with you, though.
That was sizzling.
Sizzling. Lindsay, do you have any hot takes for this week?
I don't know. I think... Maybe my biggest hot take would be that I'm more invested, I think, in the farmers finding someone than I am in most of the women. Like, as far as I have a few favorites already on the women's side, but I'm just surprised how much I liked all the farmers because I definitely, in the season that I did watch, which was season 1, I had, a first and second favorite, and then the other 2 I really didn't care for. And by the end, one of them I was like, I don't understand why these women are even sticking around at this point. Yeah. But for now, I'm like, oh, all of these guys they don't have any like, ugh, So it's not really a hot take, but it's more of just an observation.
That's fair. Yeah, I actually don't know. We do some written reactions as well to the shows on LancasterFarming.com in case you need more Farmer Wants a Wife content. And each week on those reactions, we list our favorite farmer. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know who I'm going to pick this week. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm really torn. I genuinely kind of liked all of them. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a standout. And I feel like last year, for sure, I had a standout immediately. And I think, I'm trying to think back to season 1. I feel like my season 1 changed a little bit throughout the season, but I don't know who I'm going to go with. I will say, though, I have a question about John's farm.
Oh.
He's only 25, first of all. So, like, he said he lives with his parents, which I think is very normal for a 25-year-old to still be at home, especially since he's going to law school. So, are you telling me that these 5 women are going to be living with John and his parents?
Ooh.
Good question.
I mean, his farm's the really big one, though, right?
Yeah,
Where
it's
we're
a
just
huge
like,
house.
oh, okay.
Just give them
someone
their
has
own
money.
separate wing.
That's what I'm wondering, if they don't have some sort of like outbuilding that they could like convert temporarily into living quarters, or if they have a guest house, because they don't have a house, like they have like a manor.
Yeah.
So I would not be at all surprised if they've got like a little like secondary farmhouse somewhere on that property, because it looks like a very large property too.
That is true.
I don't know if you guys caught this. It was like a very quick comment, but he at one point said that really he's living on the farm with his parents, but that someday he hopes to have his own farm that's separate from that. So
I actually didn't notice that.
So it seems like they wouldn't long term be living on that giant manor farm. Like,
Yeah.
I guess he would be wanting to get into maybe ag law and then have a little farmette, maybe?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I think there's a lot to be explored
Yes.
there.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. The funny thing is, like, the farm I'm most excited for, without a doubt, is Matt's farm with his avocados and whatever fruit he's growing, which we still don't actually know.
Yeah.
Very excited for that farm. However, I think the one I'm most intrigued by is John's, and, like, just his whole situation of his giant house and the, like, generational farm and his law school. I'm like, what's actually happening back home? Like, I'm intrigued by that one.
Yeah, same. I feel like both John and Matt's farms have more stories to tell. One, because we don't know what's happening on John's farm. We don't know what's happening in his future, what his plans are. I mean, Samantha even asked, like, do you actually want to work on a farm?
Yeah, that was kind of wild to be like, are you actually a farmer, basically? Like,
I mean, we all were asking it to ourselves, so I'm glad that someone said it. But also Matt's, his bio kind of hinted at the fact that there's a real story of family and of tragedy on his farm, and I hope they get into that. I don't want to spoil things too much if people haven't read the bios and want to kind of take a step back and just let the season unfold. But Matt sounds like he's a real family man, which I really respect. He's really stepped in for his family in their time of need.
Yeah.
And, you know, beside all that, I'm with you, Steph. Like, when he was like, we're 5 miles from the beach. We're in this, like, beautiful kind of, like, grove where we're growing our avocados and fruit to be disclosed later. And I was like, yeah, like, that's the farm that I want to spend time on, I think.
I will also say both Matt and Colton just, like, really hit the heartstrings, with Matt with his photos of him and his nieces and nephews, and then, of course, Colton with his little one. Oh my gosh. I was just like, this is unfair. Like, you're just playing with my heart at this point. Like,
I think we all melted a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah. I think we were all a little lukewarm on Colton going into this.
Yes.
For various reasons. But yeah, he really won me over when he said, my son is the coolest thing about me. I was just like, oh gosh, because same, my sons are the coolest thing about me. I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's really adorable. Also, he took off his hat when the ladies came up, and not every farmer did that.
Oh.
So, and that is something that I do watch. I've remarked before about, like, I pay attention to when the hats come on and off. He did not take his hat off when he kissed Bailey, though, which I was sad, because that's, like, my favorite, like, the smooth
move.
cowboy move is when they take off their hat before they kiss the girl. I don't know what it is about it, but
I will say, I can't remember who, but I do think somewhere in the trailer there is somebody that at some point this season does that. So you will get it eventually. All right. I feel really ready for the rest of season 3. Like, I feel like that premiere really kicked us off. I personally feel very invested in all 4 farmers, so that's exciting. Okay, so John picked Samantha, Matt picked Jordan, Colton picked Bailey and Jay picked Grace. Do you guys have a date you're most looking forward to for next week?
I gotta go with John and Samantha because it's gonna be entertaining as all get out.
That's fair.
Depending on how it shakes out.
I would say Jay and Grace. I'm really excited to see how they connect more and how that unfolds. And I'm glad that she gets that little ahead of time because she is more reserved and quiet. Mm-hmm. And excited to see if there's more kissing with Colton and Bailey.
Yeah. I feel like, honestly, I think they're all going to be interesting for very different reasons. But I think the one I'm most excited for as well is Jay and Grace, just because I'm like, we're one episode in and I'm like, I am fully sending your relationship. Please don't fail me.
What's that word? They're your OTP.
Yes. Yes, they are. I am gonna potentially eat my words later on in this podcast, but it's fine. We're committing now.
If there's one thing we've learned from watching this show is that opinions can and do shift over a season.
Yeah.
And sometimes things that we had really strong opinions about one farmer or one woman, and then by the end of the season we're like, oh no, this person was awful, or oh, this person actually wound up being great and they were correct the entire time.
That's true.
So you never know.
I will say, if we look all the way back to season 1, I really didn't like Alan when the season started, and by the end he was by far my favorite farmer. So
see, Hunter, I hitched my wagon to his very early and maintained the entire time. And I would actually say Hunter is still to this day my favorite farmer who's been on the show.
Oh.
So who this year will topple Hunter from
will he come
his
down
pedestal?
a peg? Maybe not. All right. Well, the guys have a lot to live up to after seasons 1 and 2. So, but I'm ready. I think they're up for it. So, yeah. Man, I can't believe we're already here. Season 3 has already started. We are fully in, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So thank you all for listening, for absolutely loving Farmer Wants a Wife the way that we do. You know, it's a show. We are in it. It's something. It's unique. So yeah, thank you for listening to the Farmer Wants a Wife After Party. We will be back next week and every week after until the reunion airs, whenever that is. So stick with us, please. If you liked this episode, please maybe subscribe or leave us a review. That would be awesome. If you want to join in, give your own hot takes, react to anything we said, whether you agree with us or not, feel free to email us. We are at afterparty@lancasterfarming.com. So please, we want to hear your opinions, and we will share them on the show if you want to reach out to us. We would love to share your opinions with everyone. So you can follow us on social media. We're at Lancaster Farming on most platforms, and we're going to be posting as well some videos and hot takes and reactions to the show there as well. So we're really glad to have you here joining us at the after party. Thank you again for listening. We will all be back next week. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Candace.
I'm Lindsay.
And yeah, we'll party with you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
This episode is brought to you by Towncraft Chefsware, made in the USA. With a lifetime warranty, stainless steel with oven-proof handles up to 450 degrees. With a magnetic bottom designed for any stove, why trust your favorite recipes to anything but the best? Start cooking today. Call Bob Lebda at 570-850-9041 or via email at w.lebda@yahoo.com.
This episode of the Farmer Wants a Wife After Party is copyright 2025 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Steinman Communications family. It was written by Stephanie Spiker and produced by Eric Herlock and Sophia Curzius. The music is by Tinbird Shadow.